My big idea is that the attention economy is over. I really think that we are in this idea of the intimacy economy. My idea of the intimacy economy is that we have been living in a shift that hasn't just been a mass of digital. It's actually been very, very little specific things that have made people feel like this is being made uniquely for me. And that the delta today for retailers or brands is, wait a second, if it scales the way it does, how can I create an environment where the end user, in this case will be customers because it's retailers, feel like everything they're touching with our brand feels like it's just for them.
Welcome to the Jason and Scot Show, your source for the latest news and trends in the e-commerce industry. Featuring host Jason Retailgeek Goldberg, Chief Commerce Strategy Officer of Publicis, and Scot Wingo, co-founder and CEO of ReFiBuy. Here are Jason and Scot.
Welcome to the Jason and Scot Show. I'm your host, Jason Retailgeek Goldberg, and as usual, I'm here with my co-host, Scot Wingo.
Hey Jason, and welcome back, Jason and Scot Show listeners. What's not usual is we are live from NRF Nexus in beautiful Colorado Springs. Jason, you enjoying the altitude?
I'm totally enjoying the altitude. I'm particularly enjoying getting to hang out with you because it's been too long.
Yeah. Did you climb to the top of Mount Cherokee there?
I opted out of all strenuous activities.
Yes.
As befits my physical capability.
Yeah, our badges have this thing about what every retailer's favorite thing is, and the number one was alcohol, and it's good to see you partaking in that.
Close second was caffeine, and I feel like those perfectly overlap my interests. I think we're gonna start a new direct-to-consumer espresso martini business.
Yeah, and to Jason's left, we have a coffee and a thermos of
a beverage that we cannot confirm or deny has spirits.
So this is going to be fun. We were able to snag the keynote speaker. When I say we, you. So excited to welcome Mitch Joel to the show.
Hey guys,
welcome.
I thought I was lightheaded because of how good looking you are, and then I realized, it's because I'm in Colorado. It's the altitude.
Stay hydrated.
You're not good looking.
Two things can be true at the same time.
It's fair enough. I have to grapple with both of those, I guess. Yes.
Yeah, this was the big reveal. We just went video 2 or 3 episodes ago, and people realized we're not Brad Pitt and
that I think there's huge disappointment.
Yeah. There's a huge business in AI filters for Gen Xers, is what I'm thinking, especially when it comes to video.
Yeah,
I have a face for audio podcasting. Yes. That's clear.
Absolutely. Yeah. Next company.
Exactly.
Yeah. So this is a little bit of a fanboy moment for me.
Oh, come on.
It really is.
It is for me because I'm a fan of.
Well, it goes without saying that. Yeah, it's mutual.
True,
but not really. Scott and I started this podcast almost exactly 11 years ago. And I wasn't a super popular space back then. I had done a little research and the average mortality of a podcast was 6 episodes. So my whole goal was, let's see if we can last 7 episodes. Exactly. And now, I went to bed one night, I woke up, it's been 11 years. And now I always, when I introduce the show to someone, I say we were podcasting way before it was cool. But in the back of my head, when I say that, I'm like, Mitch had a way more popular podcast for 10 years before we ever laid down a show. So your both early entry into the space and your awesome consistency in maintaining that quality over more than 20 years now, I think is a underappreciated accomplishment.
Yeah.
I hope your family's proud of you.
I don't think anyone is. It's been 20 years, 52 episodes a year, no repeats, no seasons. And I'm one who stands on stage and projects to retailers and others that I think consistency is something we sorely lack. But not just consistency in doing it often. I don't know if you guys had this experience. When I was younger, I loved physical magazines. I would say I still do, but I'm a big fan of Press Reader where I can see the physical magazine on my iPad. I like that better. But this is before the internet, I would devour magazines over and over to the point where I would go to the store and I could feel when there was a new issue. Mm-hmm. Much like you guys would remember, Must See TV, Thursdays, 8 p.m. And I think that humans have like really lost in the current world the understanding of how important not just consistency, but regularly at the same time, even if you don't communicate it to the world. And so my whole thing was like, I'll publish every Sunday morning and never tell anybody when I do that. And over the years, you'll see people say like, hey, is everything okay? Because it's like 11 and like my podcasting host glitched or something like that. So it's been a long time, but I will, as another side to that story, when I started in the marketing kind of media world, there was 3 other podcasts, and it was really like this holy trinity of marketing communication. Joe Jaffe, Michelle Holtz was doing it, and there was Inside PR out of Canada, Terry Follis, who's now a very well-known author with David Jones. And I thought I was late to the party. So just like you say that, I always think about people. And I remember going to like a pod camp and thinking to myself, like, wow, I'm really late to this party. Can't believe it. 20 years later, it seems like it's just becoming a real business.
Yeah, it's the old, after 20 years, you're an overnight success.
Yeah.
That is awesome. And you started to allude to it. We always like to start our shows with guests by kind of getting a little bit of background about our guests. And so you've done, as if the podcast wouldn't be enough, you've done quite a bit, including some significant work in my space of pompous marketing agencies.
Yeah. So I started very young publishing music magazines. Internet just came on. Really proud that in like 91, 92, we had a cover of the magazine that was the net. And the big tech breakthrough at the time was hyperlinks. The fact that you didn't have to type in the huge URL, you could actually click a link and go to the page. So I was in and interested in it really early. I got really captivated by technology, media, marketing, advertising, even content. So I did that for a bit. I worked where I live in Montreal for a local community paper. That was also very early days of the internet. Through that connection, I started working at mama.com, which was one of the first search engines on the internet prior to Google existing. So it was a meta search engine. But I was on those early calls with Sergey and Larry, and we had developed things like pay-per-click before it even became what it is today. .com boom bust echo, wound up finding myself in a mobile content company, which seems logical these days, but this was mobile before there were smartphones, before there was even a web browser, before there was interconnectivity between carriers for text messaging. Like if you were on Verizon, you couldn't text somebody on T-Mobile like that early.
You had no audience for
it. Was really like, it was on the deck, you'd go to like content and it was like there, and these people were licensing stuff. So it was a very interesting thing. And then I started a digital agency in 2000 with 3 business partners that we scaled and then inevitably sold about 13 years ago to WPP. That agency was called Twist Image, became Mirum. When I left, Earnout and all that, we had about 3,000 employees in 30 countries. It was doing really, really well. And I just took my assets out of there. I took literally the podcast, the blog at the time, my writing, my speaking, my books. And since then, I have launched a startup. I've done a lot of advisory work, a lot of consulting, a lot of speaking still, and I still do the podcast and write.
Well, thank goodness. And I should mention for many of our listeners, the magazines you reference, that's like a Substack on Papyrus.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I mean, the models were awesome, right? A free magazine, 40,000 circulation, ad supported, and you hear 40,000, you think like it's just nothing in the digital age. But like at the time, it was like
that's a huge
big circulation. Yeah, it's hilarious.
You have started a new venture called Thinkers One, and I want you to explain it. But I feel like my quick takeaway is how can you get shorter gigs and do less work?
No, yeah, kind of, yeah. I mean, the way that I could get myself sued would be to say they're customized TED Talks, right? It's a way for a company to buy essentially 15-minute.
No one from the TED people watch this show.
They're too sophisticated for this. Yeah. It's just a way for companies to really connect with the thought leader in 15-minute experiences. So live or recorded. And they're really like executive summaries. And it's just a great way, like when I do an event like this, a lot of companies will come over and say, how do I bring this back to my business? And that's just an easy way to do it. If you're doing a smaller event, an offsite, just even a general marketing meeting, a team meeting, it's a great way to add really good insight. People don't want, I don't think people want long courses and studying and added stuff. We had all these intranets. I don't think anybody accessed any of these courses. But if you could bring that into in an hour meeting and have 15 minutes, it would be somebody interesting and different. So we're doing that, and I'm about to launch Next Era Institute, which is my bigger project, which I hope will be my life's work, which is really, the ability for organizations to connect with all of the stuff I do, which I'm going to bring under the Next Era Institute, and just create a whole bunch of new products and different ideas that I'm really excited about.
Now with Thinkers One, is it like a marketplace, kind of like a Cameo?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so
say,
you guys should be on it. Absolutely. I mean, the only part that's not like a Cameo marketplace is we highly curate it. As you guys see here with your tools and toys, if the person doesn't have the ability to be really cogent on video and really good and really natural, the ability to just shoot it, edit it, send it, it becomes a bit laborious and not worth it. The idea is that it's really kind of cheap and cheerful. So there's a bit of curation. I want to make sure that people are good on videos. You guys know somebody can be great on a podcast, terrible on stage, great on stage, terrible on video. These are all very unique communication skills that are not intuitive for everybody.
Tell more about the new one, the Life's Work.
Yeah, so Next Era Institute, it was really, candidly, I was in a place where I thought I'm kind of tired self-promoting. I think, and I didn't have to do that in the agency. And when I left, I kind of realized I got to build a brand. So one is I want to build something, if I'm going to build a brand, I want it to have equity. And the way to have equity is obviously build around a company, not an individual. I've seen just a lot of stuff in the conversations of what's been happening from all of the transformations we've gone through. And I feel like there's a greater theme around speed that I'm trying to kill. I think speed has always been a part of the conversation. I do not believe there's a moat in speed. And my theory, which I'll be presenting tomorrow too, is that direction and momentum is much greater than speed. But in order to find the direction and how to find those moments to build momentum are the tricky part. And so what I'm hoping to do with this institute is facilitate different types of products. Some of them will be content, some of them will be more physical, where leaders can speak more candidly and we can work together to find those directions and opportunities to build momentum. So that's what I'm really excited to get to that.
So we're recording this before the keynote, so give us a couple more.
I think this stuff you guys would like, candidly.
Scott's breaking into a rash because we haven't talked about AI yet.
We'll get there. So my big idea is that the attention economy is over. I'll leave it there. I really think that we are in this idea of the intimacy economy. Now, I didn't create this idea. I stole it from Yuval Noah Harari with full accreditation. But Yuval Noah Harari was stating it in relation, Scott, are you ready? In AI. His idea was that we are creating a technology that can feign intimacy, that can make and look itself feel like us, and that when we do this, we don't understand the ramifications, and that it will probably lead to some type of problem with democracy, socialization, humanity, etc. Big ideas. And I heard him say this. I was actually physically in the audience, and I thought, I've been tracking a whole bunch of little things in the marketing, retail, media space that line up exactly under this idea in a different way. My idea of the intimacy economy is that we have been living in a shift that hasn't just been a massive digital. It's actually been very, very little specific things that have made people feel like this is being made uniquely for me. And that the delta today for retailers or brands would be their ability to not be paralyzed by, if I don't use this, we're doomed. If I do use this AI, my cognition's gonna slowly go away and they won't need me. And the worst part of me doing all of this is that my kids have no future on top of it. Like, I think it's the worst marketing story of technology we've ever developed. Or like, I can't even believe that's the story they're selling people. Like, it's mine. Like, I'm like, do they need a CEO, a CMO? Because they should just call me out. I can help them fix that. But what they should be thinking about as a net end, especially the people in the room tomorrow, is, wait a second, if it scales the way it does, how can I create an environment where the end user, in this case will be customers because it's retailers, feel like everything they're touching with our brand feels like it's just for them. So I'll give you like a really quick example of this. I do like TikTok. The FYP, the For You page, is amazingly fascinating. Like, Scott, if you and I had the exact same interests, weird comic books, bass playing magazines like I like, weird jazz, whatever it might be, we could follow the exact same topics and have completely different FYP pages. Yeah. So when we talk about like what is it that's making it work, I think even in relation to like reels and shorts and other things, is that it's very quick to understand not my social graph, but my interest graph in a very unique and personal way. to the point where it is almost like that the old joke where it's like, if I ever get hit by a car, make sure you delete my playlist, right? Because like, you don't be embarrassed for all the guilty pleasures you have, right? So that would be like one great example of TikTok being at scale only because of how intimate it feels to each person. Another quick little example is you guys use prompts, whether it's Claude or ChatGPT or whatever you use. Why does it do ... Do you ever think about like the reason it does that? I think that's an actual interaction design choice to make it feel like it's writing it just for you. That when you see it come out like text, right? It doesn't just clump it, it writes it out. Why? Because it feels like it's just for you. And I think there's all of these things, and I got plenty of others, that really demonstrate that we're in this intimacy economy. The bigger challenge with that is we as marketers, as retailers, as business people, are still operating in the attention economy. Yeah. And we're selling it. And I don't think we're there anymore. And the reason I say that is because just look at advertising. Like look at all the AI tools we've had in 2.5 years, we'll call it. When was ChatGPT? 2.5 years, right? Yeah. Go ask anybody in the audience tomorrow. I'm going to try to ask them if I remember. Tell me where in all of, let's use Meta as an example, not picking on Meta, but just use Meta as an example, where they're seeing a better experience because of AI deployment. Are they paying less for ads? Do they understand their customers better? Are they getting better creative out of it? Like, what are they getting? The vast majority of them will tell you the opposite. They're reaching less people. It's costing them more. They can't even see where it is. And yet we are in a world where, 25, 30 data centers the size of Manhattan is what Meta is building. So 2.5 years, what's been deployed? I'm not being critical. I'm just saying, like, in that world, what does it look like? And so again, like, I think there's a lot of stories in this that we're not necessarily seeing. And that's why I believe that's why we're out of the attention economy. I think YouTube being the #1 media company in the world is another signal, because that's not about mass. It's not about them getting licenses to live sports. They don't have the next Squid Game, right? What do they have? They have a bunch of people like us who are passionate, who are talking to a really interesting audience and communing with them. And I can't see a signal, and I've been doing this a long time like you guys, that pushes me in a world where attention is the game, it's intimacy.
So the takeaway for a retailer is they need basically a For You page. So I go to retailer.com and I've got this hyper-personalized experience.
What's crazy interesting is that you see a lot of beautiful signals out of retail. I mean, you're seeing beautiful signals out of them. I know, I was looking at who's here, and there's one of the senior people from Fanatics. Just look what Fanatics did. They were selling highly commoditized sports t-shirts. They got licenses, they built that out. Then they bought Topps. It was a multi-billion-dollar acquisition. People thought nothing. They revitalized an entire world of collectibles. Those little square cards that are cardboard, that was literally, they call it junk wax because there was so much of it, has become highly priced to the point where, I don't know if you saw recently at the Javits, they had their Fanatics event. They brought in the athletes. They built an entirely powerful world around it. And I think there are lessons in that are massive to other brands and other retailers. Like countless examples of this. But if you look at it and you splice it down, it speaks to both the intimacy of it and their ability to make, why does it work? It's that connection. We just came from the opening keynote. The Denver Broncos, CTO, CMO. What were they talking about? Community, connection. And I know it's happening. We're in the audience going, we're not a sports team, right? When we win something, millions of people won't march a parade in our streets.
Although Macy's does get a parade.
Yeah, exactly. Macy's has sponsor, I believe is the word.
Fair.
But in that, like, there's a lot of interesting lessons I think retailers can take in terms of like, what are the little things we could do to make people feel supremely connected? I wonder if retailers had great Wi-Fi just alone, if that wouldn't be, an amazing experience.
So what didn't have like 6 clicks to get onto it?
Yeah. By the way, can we talk about that? When was Amazon launched? You guys would know that better than me. What's changed? Consider all the tech, all the amazing things we've done visually, even filters. Like, it's amazing that, I think about my good friend Brett Hurt, Bizarre Voice.
Yeah.
The customer reviews was a huge thing for that industry. I would have thought video. I actually think the thing that will work if they get it on board, because again, this goes back to Fanatics and others, back to fans, is like a whatnot model. I think I'm shocked that retailers haven't played more in the whatnot model. Like that ability, like we have a store, how much foot traffic do you get? Like, get your people doing this live and selling and sharing knowledge and building brands. Like, what an amazing thing to do.
Been in the marketplace world before I was in agentic commerce, and many retailers, they want a marketplace and then you add it. Like Best Buy kind of famously, they added a marketplace and the CEO was like, why is there an HDMI cable on there that's cheaper than ours? That's bad for us. And it's like, well, that's what the internet is. And then they like shut it down because they were like really worried. So they have that merchant prince control problem. And I think having a bunch of randos selling stuff under your brand would freak them out.
Same. I'd add to that I think marketplace is the complete homogenization of a brand. One of my kids came to, they wanted an iPad, and we know, 30%, the prices went up because of memory. It's kind of heartbreaking to the poor kid. Like, it goes from like $400 to $800. Like, sorry, kid, welcome to economics, and boom.
Good lesson.
Yeah, but in that, I found on Best Buy or this, 400, and I'm looking, it's a third part. You could buy that iPad. That person is selling it in probably 60 different places. Mm-hmm. I feel like marketplace would be an amazing business if they added in the little thing I do over at Thinkers One, which is a touch of curation.
Yeah.
So I don't understand. So to me, the experience is quite the opposite. And I would tell you that even as a customer, I feel it a little bit in Amazon too. It's like there's so much from so many brands, especially ones you don't know. And I know you guys have talked about that ad nauseum. So I'm curious to see if the marketplace at scale still evolves, or if you start seeing curation. I think Costco does curation on the marketplace, if they even do that.
They do for sure do curation. They have a shockingly small assortment. It's like 5,000 SKUs.
Online.
Yeah, but to put that in perspective, Walmart's 40 million SKUs, Amazon's 1 billion SKUs, Costco sells 6,000 SKUs online, 4,000 in the store.
So, yeah, because I'm advising a company now that has a couple of products moving on to Costco, and I was looking at that thinking, it's interesting. There's a curation there. Yeah. My only thought was maybe it's not a marketplace because
I don't.
Yeah, I think they're just curating who they bring on, but they're what I'm saying is they will bring on things that you can't get in the store to make it more expansive selection. So, but it's not a marketplace.
Yeah. Kind of bridging those last two topics, I do think it's interesting. First of all, on the personalization point, I tend to agree with you, and I sometimes like put on my professor hat and I become a retail historian. My favorite retail experience is this 400-year-old retailer that's still doing business in London on Bond Street called the Lock Hat Company, second longest continuously running retailer in the world.
Before you move forward, has he told this story 6,000 times on the show?
This sounds new to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think Scott's.
Because by the way, I repeat stories on my show to new guests all the time. So
yes,
I love this.
I've been stuck on this ice vendor for since agentic commerce. This is good.
The ice evolution is a good one too. But the Lock Hat Company, this amazing hat company, they make hats for all the royals in London. They're based in London. You know what their core customer experience used to be in the 1600s? You would walk by the front of the store and you would yell hat through the doorway, and then you would go home. And someone in that store would hear you, recognize your voice. They would go to a paper journal that they had, and they had literally invented this device, this head-sizing device that took 26 measurements of all their customers' heads, and they would look up the journal of what hat that customer bought and how they liked it bent and exactly what size it was, and they would make this perfectly bespoke hat, and then they would get on their horse and deliver it to your house. Wow. And it was like
the intimacy. We're back to it.
Are they still doing that?
Kind of.
Because it's the horse one I'm curious about.
Yeah, weirdly enough.
You would rather be on a horse than a car these days, because they were not originally designed with horseless carriages in mind. But what happened, right? So when they started doing that, the entire population of London was like 400,000 people, one of the big cities in the world. And then very shortly, it exploded to like 160,000 people or 1.6 million people, and then 10 million people. And you couldn't deliver that kind of curated bespoke experience at the scale, right? And so we all moved into these like one-to-many marketing and, the newspaper and the radio and TV and all of these broadcasting things. And
the thing that has me excited about AI is if it's used properly, it has the potential to return to that log hat company experience.
And that's intimacy.
At the scale,
yes,
exactly. And
so
the marketplace model has totally won in retail. It's not curated because traditionally, curation has always required humans. It's always required Mickey Drexler saying, these jeans are stylish, these jeans aren't. And so no one could figure out how to scale that to the billion items on Amazon. But the robots can.
Okay, so you think curation is going to become this interesting AI middle?
I think it's part of agentic commerce.
With 11 years of the podcast, I've never gotten a prediction correct, so I hesitate to say I predict it's
you're at 40%.
Okay, all right. Well, thanks for that.
So you're close to a coin flip.
I'm almost as accurate as a VC.
Yes.
What is the difference in that to it knows my purchase history? Like I come onto Amazon, and is it similar to that or different to that?
It's like the TikTok algorithm. It knows.
So it's going to be able to give me ads on things.
And it's tricky because there's lots of cool things that we have in the world now that we didn't used to have. And per your point, Amazon knows your whole purchase history and all these things. I would actually argue that per your point that the experience hasn't changed that much since 1994. We're awful at using all that capability. That like we haven't delivered on the promise of all of that. Like with it, retailers no way. I have a beloved relationship with a brand, United Airlines. Flown 2 million miles on them. I carry their credit card. Like they know everything.
They meet him at the gate and give him high fives and a massage.
Yeah, they know everything about me. Every single flight I sit on, every single week, the screen pops up in front of me and goes, "Welcome, Jason Goldberg. Would you like to sign up for our credit card?" Yes. The credit card I use to pay for the flight, right?
Tell me how in 2026 the bank that you bank at is sending you emails asking if you need a checking account. Doesn't know your gender. Not that that's a big deal, but it might be.
Yeah. And so I just argued that like even though the technical capability is there for a lot of super rich experiences, it's still the first inning of this whole commerce is 6,000 years old. Yeah. Like we've had digital commerce since 1994. So like it's still the first inning and we still all, for the most part, suck at it.
So here's where I'm going, and I'm presenting this tomorrow, so it's fine, it's great. We started off on the marketing side as like a one-to-many, okay, and then we talked about many-to-many, so social, and then we talked about like maybe we can get to one-to-one. I don't think that ever happens. I think we're kind of in there. And then in the retail, we were talking about omni-channel, was like the other way in which you're gonna, every slide we saw was the customer at the middle and all this stuff around it. My argument with this intimacy economy is the baseline is that we're moving to what I call 1 to X. 1 is the retailer, the brand. X is the unlimited amount of customers you have. So I actually like inverted it, made the brand first, and I'm in that world where I'm like, this is how not only it should feel, because I think it should have felt that in 1-to-1. We couldn't get there. We just talked about 3 examples, that'll be probably 20,000 more. But now it's like there's no excuse. The problem, I think, is that they're deploying it completely wrong. They're like trying to do this weird productivity, efficiency, internal thing. And I'm like, why? Wouldn't the first thing you should do is do something on the customer experience? It'd be the easiest thing because it won't hurt people, right? Because the deployment problem of AI right now, beyond the fact that it's being board pushed and there's just money thrown at it because it has to fit in the craziness of the economy, is that the end person, which is the employee, whether they're VP level or down to some type of administrative job, they're not being told the full story. They're being told the first part of the story. It's like, here are the tools and do stuff. Maybe it's better than that. Maybe they're giving some training. Like everyone's got different variables. We heard Jill talk about the fact that everyone now is still kind of unsure. I get all that. But the second part of that is really the part that no one's being told, which is if we're right about AI and it's automating all this stuff that we used to actually hire you to do, here's where you add value as a person. We are not working on that. I don't know do you know one company that's deployed AI in that framework of here it is, use it, do all this stuff, great. And also, this is why you bring value to us. Nobody is saying that. So that creates a vacuum, and we know what happens with vacuums. It gets filled. And of course, what it's going to be filled with is a high level of anxiety, because we're going back to the marketing pitch of it, which is if you don't use it, you'll be fired. If you do use it, you might be automated out of work. And the general sentiment out there is your kids are screwed, right? So I find it really amazing that, we're probably gonna have great conversations here over 2.5 days. And I promise you won't have a conversation like this. No one's gonna ask about that question, and no one is doing that inversion of one-to-one. It's always like brand to this. Well, what if the brand is singular? And now you are doing it to an X, which is the unlimited amount of. I think that paradigm is massively huge. And by the way, I think it would cost less than what they're spending on marketing today.
One area where I can think of an example, and it's not in retail though, is software developers and maybe it's because they're so mature on AI now.
Yeah, it is.
Where if you are a developer and you're really good at AI and you're producing 10 times more, you will get more compensation. So it's not replacing them. It's like a bionic type of thing.
They in and of themselves have removed their skill. They're vibe coding it on their phone. They're not in the matrix with 6 screens, like with Joel. No, I got you, but I'm saying that they are pushing it to be to the point where they can disrupt themselves, so they can just do this stuff. But that has not been the sale to anyone else.
Yeah, I agree.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Right, like think about writing. I'm sure you guys use it for content generation. Like my whole thing with using it for content generation is I've just bifurcated it. I'm like, there's blue collar and white collar writing now. Blue collar writing, give me the keywords for this. Give me 15 great titles for this. Turn this into a completely different way to say this so that I don't get dinged by SEO because I need to write this twice, but if it's repetitive, I'm gonna get dinged. I could give you countless blue collar, but the white collar, what's the idea? I wanna put those words in. But writing hasn't bifurcated. So this is the panic, is you have copywriters who are going, okay, the average piece of copy is average. Claude, ChatGPT, it can do better than average right now, right? This isn't I get when writers are holding their words precious, and it's all true. But the stuff that we do day to day, come on, for that corporate kind of soulless content. But if we move that into where is it? That's blue collar content. We got to do the brochure. We got to this. It can have life but it's not that type of this work where it's got to be the speech. It's got to be the article. It's got to be that. So if you can do that and then have time to do this, imagine the beautiful content that will come out. But it's not the story we're selling anybody in marketing or advertising or in any of our agencies. The copywriters who work in that organization that you work for right now are panicking.
Yeah.
Because no one has given them that part. And that is the same thing. Here are the tools, and now we're going to show you where your real value lies. Now and the coders figured it out.
Yeah.
They're doing incredible. You go to the Valley, you see these people, they are literally vibe coding on their phone by voice. The vast majority of them are if you're not using WhisperFlow, just talking to your computer, you're missing the whole point. Prompt, that was the thing today. Prompting is dead. You should just be talking to your computer. Yeah. Some of these people are talking to their computer for 10 minutes before the prompt goes.
Yeah, and they have a pedal and they've got the whole speaker. Yeah, I've seen that.
So, where are we in this world? That's the thing. And again, that goes back to the intimacy economy, right? Because, there is a secondary part to this, which is when somebody figures, I think Jack Dorsey just announced this new thing where he's doing a Slack, but for collaborative, but the collaboration is
for bots,
for agents
people.
And people.
Yeah.
I think there's something here where it's why haven't we, and I guess because the technology is too nascent, it is the most uncollaborative technology I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
What are we supposed to do if we want to work together? Am I supposed to sit next to you with the iPad and we both take turns? So someone has to crack that too, where it's how do we actually do projects and have multiple, and that when if your prompt sucks and his is great, we have something, because otherwise you're going to screw up his work. You can't even jump in on his project.
Yeah.
So that's the other part of it too, where I think it's so for coders, makes sense. Most of them work in solitary. They're given a chunk, something to solve, and off they go. It's the collaborative part. So complex.
Yeah, we just started using, so Claude has a new feature where you can tag it in on Slack.
Right.
And it's really cool because you can, so I'm in the sales channel and I was showing the salespeople how I would build a one pager, and then they can, and I'm iterating, right? And they can see the whole process. They can see the final result.
Can they jump in on the process?
And then they'll jump in and
screw it
say, sometimes, yeah, which is actually part of the learning process. And I'll say, well, you didn't.
Like you made it worse.
They notoriously, you learn after you prompt enough, the wordier you are, the better, which is kind of like the opposite world where
It's good to hear. I didn't know. Like, it's still
so we're super early in it.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing too. It's like, oh, you learned something new. It's like, when did they have that? This week? Like, oh, okay. Like, I feel like we're still in that cycle where it's like, oh, if you don't give everybody access to ChatGPT, you're crazy. Next week, it was like, oh, ChatGPT is dead. It's Claude. And they're like, oh, no. Codex is great. You got to go back. I'm like, what company? Like, I get you can do this as an individual coder and you're making YouTube videos. You're brilliant. But what company could move like that?
I'm sure the harnesses, which is what they call Codex and Claude Code and Cowork, I think they'll have a team. Yeah. They'll have a multiplayer. It's. I'm sure they're using it internally.
I'd be curious to say, like, how do you do that when you're interacting, especially in core? It'd be interesting to see how they collaboratively work.
The agent adds a lot of value because it can tell you, like it did a thing where I was talking about a customer. And it's like, well, Adam has a call them tomorrow, and I never even and I was like, oh, but it's like the agent informing me of a piece of information I didn't have without Adam being. I didn't have to go look at his calendar.
So every week I do a thing on my, I don't call it blog anymore, on my platform, Thinking with Mitch Joel. And it's called 6 Links That Make You Think. That's also been 16 years, haven't stopped every Saturday. 2 of my buddies, Alistair Kroll, Hugh McGuire. Alistair is one of the guys behind Startup Fest and Forward 50. And he's a real intelligent coding human being. He built an entire world for bots for events like this. And he ran it at Startup Fest. So essentially you would go in and let your agent go. These agents were like pitching each other. They came up with talk ideas. They were networking. They were DMing people. And at the end, you get like, what did your agent experience at this conference? All the notes from every session. You can't attend every session. There's concurrence. There's this. So that world's interesting to me. But I'd love to know from you guys, are you really sold on this agentic shopping thing? Like, do you think that's...
Depends on the definition, so we should start there.
Yes.
Because this is like my whole, I don't buy a lot of stuff, but I love to shop. Like, I love to mall rat, and I love to just look at stores. I just don't really want to buy a lot of stuff. And I see in myself that there's certain things I'm okay running on a subscription service, but there's other things like I just kind of just do want to pick it up or wander around. And I find that in the retail world, there's so much push towards this idea of like, I don't know, I think people love hanging out and shopping and doing stuff.
Some people for some missions.
Right, like I think it's mission-based.
That ends up being the secret sauce, right? Is for in different moments, we all want different things. I spent a lot of time in my past at Best Buy, and I was part of this really interesting customer centricity experiment where like we invented these personas and then we literally built physical stores for each persona where we tried to make everything exactly how Barry would want it or how Joe would want it, right? And a huge debate in each of these stores, is this a self-service store or is it a sales-assisted store? Does Barry enjoy the treasure hunt and he wants to figure it out for himself? Or does he want to go to the smartest, best salesperson that he's ever met that can help him answer that question, right? And the unfortunate fallacy of our project was that there was a binary answer to that. Yeah. And the answer is he wants all of those things, or she, often in the same visit, by the way.
And serendipity, like this is the other thing too, where it's like when we saw the web develop at first, like the original Yahoo page that you could customize, it's amazing. I don't like sports. I like sports. I have music. I like music. And then you realize like, oh, because I'm on the other side too. I'm a publisher and I'm an editor and I'm thinking about, you lose all serendipity. And there's something magical, I think, about I'm going into Best Buy because I want the DJI Osmo 3, and then but there's this remarkable tab, or there's like these mics, or there's this cool like stand for my phone that will click to my MagSafe, and we look at things through such weird blinders. It's amazing to me. And that's why agentic shopping to me feels like really strange. And I love this stuff, and I'm like, I don't.
So I think your definition is agents. You tell an agent to go buy something for you, and that's how a lot of people define it.
But yeah.
I think it actually, and to your point on curation, if you start to go to Amazon and then start at Rufus, now called Alexa for shopping, which we could talk about. Yeah. I'm not a huge fan of that rebrand.
Rufus.
Yeah. You will find it to be, you'll start to feel that in the discovery process, it adds a lot of value. So some of it is kind of like that, give me the technical spec when I want it, and then help me like just explore.
I think it's gonna be so hard. I mean, like I go to Amazon every day because I love my Kindle. And Kindle deals, greatest thing ever. And they have today only. Yeah. So you get awesome books, $1.99. I'll tell you what makes it magical. It's the fact that it's not grabbing what I actually bought and feeding me all that. Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, oh, like, you wake up one day, you hear something, maybe I should check out Brandon Sanderson in sci-fi. Like I've never, and I just kind of see all this stuff and I just think there's this weird serendipity in human experience that we think that if we just refine everyone's usage exactly right, and I'm like, I'm like really curious to see how that plays out in retail. Really curious.
All these techs, they do have the potential to be either, right? So I would argue, per your point, a lot of the digital commerce technology to date has ruined serendipitous discovery. Yeah. We have a great joke in our industry: e-commerce saw buying but broke shopping. Exactly. Right. And so, when you go to Target, you walk by all the other brands and you discover stuff you never knew you wanted. But when you type something into a search engine, you laser beam right to what you're buying and you bypass all that other stuff.
And by the way, we pulled the hey squirrel moment where like we just kind of jumped. But my question about when Amazon was created was moving towards this thought of, I can't believe like we're sitting here and the overall like user online shopping experience online hasn't changed. It blows my mind. Like again, going back to Whatnot, I feel like that's a little bit different, but I'm still amazed. It's like image, title, description. Like I know there's a habituation that we have as humans. I get it, but I'm just shocked in the world of digital content how we moved from like reading to videos to images that, and as they try to integrate it, it just doesn't seem to.
There's been 1,000 try-on tools that just don't ever seem to get traction.
They were doing those. Like I remember we had like My Virtual Model was the big one out of where when I was at Mama, it was like 20 years, it was like almost 30 years ago. Yeah. It's crazy.
Let's do one more quick topic. Yeah. One thing you've written a lot about trust. Talk a little bit about we're doing all this more automated stuff, and yet trust is what's it going to do to trust? What's your prediction on that?
Yeah, first of all, when you say trust, I was thinking about, I can't remember, Hernan Cortez wrote a nonfiction book called Trust. It is not even related to this, but if you haven't read it, fantastic book. Just it has nothing to actually do with the word trust, but brilliant writing. I think I won a Pulitzer. Trust is an interesting thing. I don't know how you guys feel. I'm always in these conferences where the person from Edelman is doing the trust barometer. And there's something about it that I love them, love the company, love the idea, but I'm always like, why are we surprised? Like, why are we surprised that trust keeps falling and falling if we look at just how our governments act, our social structures, our confidence, the noise, the echo chambers. So I actually think, going back to this idea of the intimacy economy, that this is where we can, I'll say, rebuild trust. And if you look at some of the politicians who've won recently, whether you like their political views or not, a lot of it is driven on these very like small type of ecosystems. So I look at it less as trust. And my thing, I have an acronym called PACE. The C in PACE is for commune. It's not community. It's not get together. It's not hang. It's what happens when we do these things. To me, retailers, people who spend more time focusing on how they can commune with one another or facilitate that are going to be the ones that win. I spent a lot of time in the early 2000s talking about community, and every brand should build community. And I realized really quickly, like call 2004, it wasn't working. And I was unfortunately calling my peers out where it's like, you have to build community. I was like, I don't think a lot of customers want to be part of a bank community or like a veterinarian community. Like, I just don't think that that's the case. I do think that if you're a vet, you have a great opportunity to help your patients and customers commune. These are great places where you can get like really, special organic food for your pet. This is where, if you got a new pet, this is where you can go and it's a safe dog run. And I believe that things like that spark a massive connection to it. There's a screenshot I'll show tomorrow of, it just looks like the most beautiful co-working space, and it's a bank in Poland. And what they realized was like they have a space like this and they're like fake plastic trees, those airport ropes, and people standing broken pens. Nothing looks good. It's all dusty. Pamphlets on a coffee table. What is that? And they were like, what should we be doing? Well, what if we actually gave space to our customers to work, to have a nice coffee, maybe have a conversation, maybe have a book reading? Like, again, they're not building community. They're creating moments to commune. And I'm going to guess that if you're walking down a street and thinking about your bank and you realize you could get some co-working space there for free if you have a checking account or whatever, grab a coffee, you're probably more inclined, like in a simplistic way. So I don't look at trust as like do we trust? Like, I think it's like table stakes. The product's got to be good. It's got to be delivered fast. It's got to be priced well. It's got to have great follow-up, great service, blah, 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 blah. I think it's really going to come from how brands facilitate those things. By the way, we see this at scale in things like drops. It's like, what happens when 300 people line up for a store? I'm not talking about Swatch and AP. That was not a good example. It was a bit chaotic for that. But even that, do you not think people were talking in those lines about watches and what they like and what do you like and what, we used to go to concerts and not be on our phones. And this is the reason we have the pouches now and Jack White shows. But what happened at those concerts is you actually communed, not only with the music and the experience, but you communed with people, you met people. Retail was that. And I think, by the way, a lot of people our age or similar age, we are very nostalgic for that. Like if we could go back in time to when you were 14 and we could go back to those stores you used to hit on Saturday. Now, as a 50-plus-year-old person, I can't think of something else I would rather do. Because one is I would take more advantage of it. I'd have better conversations with the clerks instead of being maybe intimidated or unsure that they think I'm shoplifting or something. But we met.
I actually was shoplifting.
That was you, yeah.
He was testing the security.
Prevention,
I was just walked out way before Amazon.
Yeah. And now he's giving the keynote at NRF on prevention. Yeah, it's great. So those things to me are like the real power of it's beyond trust to me. It's this amazing connection you feel to it. And there's so many brands that do this. So Hot Wheels is such a great example of that. I mean, people don't think about that brand. It's like my favorite case study. If I have time, I'll do it tomorrow. I probably won't. Think of it as like $1 product, but it's not. Like, look at the product SKU, look at the treasure hunts, look at their in-person events that they do with Walmart, look at their red line business, look at what they're doing. Even, by the way, they're successful with NFTs. Totally successful with NFTs. And all they're really doing is giving people who love cars an opportunity to commune. It's unbelievable. So I think that to me is the win here.
No, I think that is a great point. Like, we do talk a lot with trust about clients, and I'm kind of with you. It's a double-edged sword. I actually think it's super important. And when we look at what experiences win versus lose, like the intangible difference is,
it just feels like a table stake. Like, again, like, does what it says, priced well, get great service. I trust you because like it worked.
But I think it's impossible to measure. And I think Edelman's survey of 40,000 people, do you trust this or trust is a subconscious thing. Like, you can't.
How do you define trust, sir?
Yeah. How do you feel about surveys, Jim?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of stated preferences. I like to
tried to close this out. Now, here we go.
Now we're going to jump into the whole thing. No, but and so I do think the jury's out on all of this tech, and you've written about this. It has the potential to be more trustworthy, and it has the potential to erode trust, right? And I think in the wild right now, there's lots of examples of both. Hopefully, the trustworthy examples will win out, and natural selection will kick in.
We got a cut, but I'll give you a great one. Can I give you a great one?
Yeah.
Did you hear about? God, was it in Canada? They used AI voice to change. Did you hear about this? To change the dialect of the person providing the service to sound more American or Canadian. So they're based in India or wherever.
So they go from sounding jerky to sounding friendly?
From sounding like they have an accent to sounding like that. What were they seeing? They were actually seeing it move the needle in terms of a positive reaction. But then when people found out, they got really dour on it.
Yeah.
So this is that thing about trust too. It's like sometimes the metrics will tell you something versus like now the big thing in the world was multicast fiction audio books. You saw this are scoring better than AI created than human voice. And my whole world's gone crazy over this. And it's like, well, if you told them that it's an AI voice, they would have a completely different reaction.
Didn't I read from you that they're preferring the AI narrator to real narrators for audiobooks, right?
That's the point. Yeah. But if you tell them it's AI, I don't want. No, it's bad.
It's a game changer.
So then by not telling them, they like it more. But you lost your trust.
Yeah, you lied. To build trust, you have to lie.
That's exactly what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah, it's a tricky conundrum, and that's a perfect place to leave it because once again, we've used up all our allotted time. Mitch, we usually wrap up by asking where to find guests on the interweb, but you're all over the interwebs.
Sticking with Mitch Joel is the best right now.
Yeah, and so we'll put links to everything, but we'll put that at the top. And thank you so much for taking time out.
I'm humbled to be with you guys. It is a mutual admiration society. Great to be here. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Mitch.
You've been listening to The Jason and Scot Show. For all the latest news and trends on e-commerce and shopper marketing, subscribe to us in iTunes or visit jasonandscott.com.